Good afternoon, Merrimack Elementary. I hope everybody's had a fantastic week. This week's video is going to be a lot about facilities and some of the updates on some of the things that are happening in the building. I know last week was pretty exciting. We had Halloween, so there's a lot of fun stuff there as the kids were excited about Halloween. It's perfect to have it fall on a Friday. I wish we could somehow manage to do that every year, but we can only control so much. So this week, first big news is the gym is finished, ready to go, looks good. I've included a picture in the newsletter, so hopefully you guys will get a chance to check that. I can see all of it's shiny, all of it's new, no water, no water damage. It's We're excited and ready to go. I know our PE teachers, I want to give a big shout out to them. They're actually in the process of moving and cleaning and getting everything set back up so they can get back in there to on Monday. But we will have PE back in the gym on Monday just in time, as it is supposed to be quite cold. So Monday might have been pretty interesting had we had to still try to be outside. But really, I want to give a big shout out to our PE teachers as well as all of our staff for being so flexible. I've talked to some other principals, other places, other administrators, and we've talked about how this happened, and the gym all of a sudden being flooded and everything having to move outside, and they're what they're they're jealous of, or mostly just really wanting to just kind of commend us for, is just the way in which our PE teachers have just kind of taken that on. They're asking me, like, how did they do this? What did you have to do? Were they upset? Obviously they weren't happy about it, but knowing that they were flexible enough and made the changes, we did this in a matter of days and just quickly moved everything into an entirely different space. Those are things that we don't want to take for granted. I just want to give a big shout out to them and to everybody for just making this work and making the best of what was a bit of a unique situation. So we'll say thank you to them. But yes, we're excited to have the gym back. It's like I said, it looks all shiny and new and perfect in there right now. So we're excited to kind of hopefully get them all back in there and doing that on Monday. So some of the clubs and other things like that, once we kind of get everything settled, as we get into the next session, all of those clubs will be able to make their way back. We'll still be able to do things like we're going to have an orchestra tour coming in a few weeks, winter sing along, all of those kinds of things will still be able to take place, and we'll still be able to use the gym. So we're excited about having all of those things happen. And it was done even just about on the timeline we initially had, and maybe even a little bit early. So you're doing large projects to get it done early. That's something that's completely unexpected. So really making lemonade out of lemons here just a little bit, and took what was a bad situation and made it work. And it's been as good as can be expected. So I want to say thank you again to everybody for that. And finally, when we talk about facilities, I know you guys have heard us for a little over a year. It feels like we've been talking about the district's long range facilities plan, looking at some of our district's facilities, some of the district buildings, and looking at what we may need to do. Merrimack, for example, is one of the two oldest buildings in the district, us and Glen Ridge. And, so we are looking at our facilities. What might we need to do? How do we maintain the things that make Merrimack so special? That community feeling, just the look of the building. I mean, it's even on my shirt, all these kinds of things that we have here that we know that makes Merrimack, but also make it work as something that we can be proud of. Our schools are community resources. These are things that should be helping to instill and promote the pride that we have in our schools, letting people know when they're looking to come to Clayton, when they're looking to visit, when they're looking to tour, maybe move here, which happens quite a bit. We get quite a few tours, people checking out, coming to see us. Being able to show them how much we really value our schools and what we value and the work that's going to take place in here. As we are talking to people and looking at those things, that's a lot of what our facilities is looking at. So things, we have a lot of unique features here in the building, so I would encourage you guys just to check out some of the district's resources that we're putting out there. There's some videos and things that would show just some of the uniqueness of some of the things that we deal with here at Merrimack with regards to facilities, but also give you some opportunities to be able to learn about that and potentially even come and see us. I know many of you guys have been in the building, obviously, but on November 18th, we're going to be having two different tours that evening. We'll start one at 7, one at 7:45, where I'll lead us around and kind of just show some of the things that, you may not always get to know, or some of the things that kind of, that go in that are taking place a little behind the scenes peek into some of the facilities, as wondering why we've been talking about some of these things, or what we're kind of hoping to be able to do, and what we might have to, like I said, have to deal with currently. So there's a link in this newsletter that kind of takes you to some of the tour information, but also some of the information on the long range planning. And I would just encourage you guys all to check that out, and let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about anything, and then we can go from there. So yes, this week's video was all about the facilities, but we're excited to get the gym back up and running, and just continuing that process with that long range plan. Hopefully, you guys have all had a fantastic week. Hope everybody had a great weekend last weekend with Halloween, and we look forward to seeing you all on Monday.